how much of the endowment effect or the negativity bias actually has an effect on our real life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and some of the things going back to magic and what I learned through, my, I guess you'd call it study, learning from other magicians and getting into psychology a bit, which then led me, when I started my speaking career, led me to dig deeper into some of these people that we've talked about that are behavioral psychologists and behavioral economics, and neuroscientists. But one of the things from magic that I learned is, well, it's a word that everybody associates with magicians, and that is misdirection, right? That they think that's how we do it. Well, magicians don't call it that. We call it directing attention, because that sounds more positive and deliberate. We're getting your attention focused here, so that it's not focused over here, but you can think of it as the same thing, misdirection. And the funny thing is, and I illustrate this when I'm giving a talk, I will do a trick and say, I misdirected you. I got your attention over here so easy, even though you knew here's the important thing, me holding this deck of cards in my hands, that's the important thing. And yet I directed your attention right here, just very easy. And you looked there, your attention was there, and I could do my secret move and you didn't even see it. Even though that was the most important thing, I got your attention away from the most important thing extremely easily. Very, very easy to do. You have to structure your magic trick in a way that it doesn't seem like you're trying to direct somebody's attention. Yeah. The reason misdirection works so effectively is because we're very easily distracted. Okay. So go back to the lizard brain for a second. Here's how attention works. There's two levels to it. System 1 is the first level. Say you're walking in down a dark alley at night, and unfamiliar neighborhood by yourself. Why you're doing that, I don't know. Don't ever do that.
Good advice.
Let's just say you're doing it. Okay. So where's your attention? It's everywhere. You're scanning, right? Because you're on alert. So we're always scanning our subconsciously. We're not thinking about it, but we're always scanning our environment. Now there's millions of stimuli hitting us constantly from all directions. We can't process all of them. So our subconscious mind has to determine what are we going to focus on? Well, anything that sticks out, anything that seems important or seems like it could be a threat. Okay. Those are the things that we're looking for subconsciously. So something sticks out of the corner of your eye, you see some movement, or you hear a noise, when you're walking down this dark alley, all of a sudden, all your attention stops scanning, boom, and it focuses right on that one thing. Then it hands your attention to system 2, your thinking, and you determine, is this important? Is this an actual threat? So if all of a sudden you look and it's just a cat running by, not important, your brain goes back to scanning, right? So your conscious system 2 is, like I said, it's in tune with your goals and your values. Your goal is to not get killed by some guy running at you with a knife down a dark alley, right? So once it sees that it's safe, it can go back to scanning and system 1 can take over again. So because system 1 is always scanning and gets easily distracted by anything, again, that sticks out, that is noisy, so to speak, or is potentially threatening, that's why we are very easily distracted.
Interesting. So you're saying that
magicians can misdirect us so easily, they can get our attention somewhere else. And your attention, magicians will dilute it. First they'll direct it, they'll dilute it, they'll distract it. And anything to weaken your attention that allows them to do the secret stuff that makes the miracle happen.
That's really interesting. So what you're saying is that distraction and focus are so intertwined with each other. So you're saying when you're misdirecting or distracting someone, what you're really doing is not distracting them. Well, you are, but you're making them focus on something else.
Exactly.
So yeah, if you have 2 hands, you want them to focus on your left hand when everything's going on the right hand. They're dead focused, even though they're right next to each other. They're dead focused on the thing that's the wrong thing to focus on.
Right. right? And, we have other ways of misdirecting as well. And one thing that it works incredibly well is if I've got somebody on stage with me, the participant in the trick, and they're usually, if you're doing a performance in front of a large group, you have to have somebody be the proxy for the audience. In other words, if I've got a prop, everybody's suspicious of the prop, right? They're like, oh, I wonder what secret, he's got that deck of cards. I wonder what's gimmicked about it. I bet it's not a normal deck. Well, you can't pass it out to everybody. So you get one person from the audience out, you hand them the deck and they look at it. And since the audience doesn't trust me because I'm a magician, but they do trust that person because they're one of them, right?
Yeah.
So that's building transparency. And that's a great lesson, that I teach on trust is you've got to build as much transparency, be as transparent as you can about your decision-making so that you can build trust.
Wait, so
anyway.
so you have a prop, right?
Yeah.
This prop, you get the audience to look at it, but the thing is there something special about this prop, or is the guy actually looking at this and saying there's nothing wrong with this?
Well, it depends. It depends on the situation. So for example, one trick that I do is a rope trick and I hand the ropes to the person on stage, and they are actually normal ropes.
Okay.
So I hand them to that person, but then I have them start handing them back to me one at a time. And when I have two of them, I have to do a secret move with them that I don't want the audience to see. I'm not going to hide it behind my back because that's going to look suspicious. So what I do is I ask the person that I'm with, they've got that third rope in their hand, and I say, you might want to take a look at that third one because that's the one magicians will usually monkey with if they're going to have a have a secret in the rope. It's usually that middle length one. So you might want to take a look at that. And so the person looks back at their rope. Everybody in the audience looks at that person looking at the rope, and they're not looking at me, and I can do that little move real quick. They don't notice.
Wow.
So that's how easy distraction works. So the thing I like to use is asking the question. If there's somebody, and this works in close-up magic too, if I'm working at a restaurant or an event where I'm going table to table and there's only a couple of people there, if you ask someone a question, where's their attention? It's trying to answer the question.
Yeah.
Their mind, all of a sudden, all their mental energy goes to, how can I answer this question correctly and not look stupid, especially if they're on stage.
If they're on stage, yeah.
They're thinking really, all of a sudden, 100% of their mental energy goes into answering this question. I could do anything because even if their eyes happen to be on me, they wouldn't notice because their attention has gone over to working on the answer to this question. If you use humor, that's a great way to misdirect people because people laugh and it reduces, that dilutes their attention. It reduces the intensity of it. So yeah, we have a lot of, we magicians have a lot of secret tricks to get to dilute your attention. Now, in practical terms for, everyday people, and that's what I like to do is take these things from magic and apply them to how we live our lives and make decisions. As professionals or as students, just in our everyday lives. So, we've got that that distraction or that misdirection that's always going on, messing with our attention. The idea of multitasking doesn't work because your attention cannot be split. Your conscious attention. So this is, have you talked on your podcast about the concept of multitasking in the past?
Actually, no, but I read the book called Invisible Gorilla. I'm sure you've heard of like the monkey business solution with Daniel Simons, and just the fact that we literally there could be a gorilla that walks across the room. This is just like your basic experiment. A gorilla walks across the room and they tell you to look at and try to count the people that are passing the basketballs and how many times the basketball passes. Yet, if a gorilla walks across the room, bats its chest in the middle of the room, and then walks off, only 50% of people see it. And the reason is because we are just so bad at at being able to focus and being able to focus on multiple things at one time. We're just so locked in to that basketball game.
Yeah, yeah. The first time I saw that, it completely went by me. And then when they showed it
Same.
again and said, "Now look for the gorilla," it was like so obvious.
Yeah.
And they call that attention blindness. So because your attention's locked one place, you're completely blind to everything else that's going on. Well, when we multitask, and the distinction I have to make is when you're trying to do two things that require conscious attention.
Okay.
So if you're doing one thing that doesn't take much conscious attention, for example, if you're driving down the highway, you can do that while you're having a conversation with somebody, because you've been driving for your whole life since you were 16, and you know that it has, that process has gone to your subconscious. Your ability,
it's automatized.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you now have the mental conscious capacity to do something else, like have a conversation with somebody that's sitting next to you. Now, I don't recommend, talking on your phone while you're trying to drive, because you never know when something's going to need your attention while you're driving. And it's also why, if you're about to merge in traffic and you're having a conversation, you may totally miss that part of the conversation and have to ask the person to repeat themselves, because your conscious attention had to go towards dealing with, the merging, so that part of driving did take your attention away. So when people think they're good multitaskers, what they're actually doing is something called task switching. Not multitasking, but task switching. You are switching from one to the other. And what happens is you do neither of them as well as you could if you just did one at a time.
Yeah.
So when you try to multitask and you think, I'm a great multitasker, well, no, you're not. You would be better if you did one at a time.